I've got to say Andy Burnham's actions don't meet his words, his rhetoric. You know, he had a £1 billion affordable homes budget in Manchester, and he only delivered 500 affordable homes. So I worry about Labour's ability to get bang for the buck, our buck, in terms of spending things wisely. Far better to do what we were doing, which is make sure the house building is active. We were building far more homes than Labour were, about 20% more homes every year. Or house builders were. And coming alongside that, of course, is the funding through various different agreements for affordable homes. So we were building around 60,000 homes a year, and that number has not increased under Labour, yet the overall total has decreased. So we've got a better record on this than Labour. And what my big concern is this will be lots more borrowing. That's what we're going to see. As much as these plans to build all these homes, there are no plans on how they're going to pay for it. And we know the answer to that, of course. The question you get asked, where's the money coming from? It's the reality is taxpayers will have to pick up that bill, and that's not something Labour have talked about yet in terms of how they're going to pay for it. That's all to come, but it will mean more taxes. I don't say we built enough homes, but we built a lot more homes than our predecessors. During the period we were in office, we built some record numbers of homes. Net new additions were the highest they've been for 50 years. We also helped 1 million first-time buyers onto the housing ladder through stamp duty discounts and through things like Help to Buy and Right to Buy, which are all good things in my view, most of which Labour has either scrapped or weakened to the point that they're not really in existence. So we've got a good record. Should we have done more? Of course, you can always do more. And we have plans in our manifesto in 2024 to do more, but clearly those plans are pretty redundant now. But we are keen to make sure we supercharge house building, but do it in a way that's well planned. And the way that Labour's done it, they're shifting all the housing targets away from metropolitan areas, away from cities, into rural areas. We think that's wrong. They should be built on brownfield sites where the jobs are. That's the least impact on communities. That's the right way to do it. Plan these things well. But I'm afraid to say that Labour plans are falling apart. You've seen much lower levels of house building since they took over. I think we made a mistake at one point. There was a move to abandon housing targets at a local authority level. I think that was wrong. I didn't support that. I've never, as a constituency MP, I've never objected to an individual housing development in my constituency, because I'm pro-housing, pro-development. You know, my background is in housing. I was in business before politics. So I don't think any member of parliament minds if you have the right number of homes in the right places with the right infrastructure. That's the key to this. There was some backlash against some of those things not being quite delivered properly, which I understand. So we've got to make sure we get this right in the future. But the targets and the numbers are all completely off the mark right now and need to be looked at again by this government. They planned 1.5 million homes. They crowed about it. It was a central plank of their policy platform. They're going to build a lot less than that, and indeed a lot less than the Conservative government in the last few years we're in office. I do believe that. He's said so on a number of occasions that there's more latitude to increase taxes. And that's what you always get from a Labour government, of course. The only answer is ever more tax. And we have a clear plan to do otherwise, while still making sure that we can fund our defence plans properly. And that requires us to cut the cost of doing government. That requires us to cut the cost of welfare and to cut the size of the civil service. Both those things save in total around 50 billion a year. And with that money, you can reduce debt and you can cut taxes, scrap stamp duty, for example, completely on when you're buying a home. And we cut business rates for the vast majority of pubs, restaurants, shops. And at the same time, we can properly fund our defence. And that's the way to manage the budget properly. I do not think we'll see that from Andy Burnham or John Healey. Well, Kemi Badenoch will always be her own woman. I don't think she needs Giorgia Meloni to remind her that, but clearly they get on very well. And I think she's absolutely right. You know, as Kemi said, you know, some people say we should do this deal with reform. They're a completely different party to us politically. They believe in nationalisation and paying more in benefits and that kind of stuff. So, which we don't believe in. We think we should control spending. But also, you know, many people vote for Conservatives to keep reform out, and that situation would not be the case if we did a deal with reform, or even if there was a suggestion we might do that after an election, as you just suggested then. So, yes, I can absolutely rule that out.
In post-war Britain, Clement Attlee and Nigel Bevan built social housing, council houses, on an industrial scale. These were houses for British people, for British workers in post-war Britain. In the 35 years after the Second World War, over 5 million council houses were built. And people like my grandparents, both sets of grandparents, moved into council houses in Ashfield. And they saw it as a privilege, a real privilege, not a right. They looked after their homes. And my grandparents lived in their council houses for over 50 years. In modern-day Britain, council housing is issued on need rather than suitability. And this has led to all sorts of social problems, especially in places like Ashfield. A young person in Ashfield, or a young couple in Ashfield, a young working couple, have absolutely no chance of ever securing council housing or social housing in my area. And this is happening all over the country. It's not fair. And the policy that Richard Tice is going to talk about later is about fairness. It's about putting British people first, ahead, at the top of the queue, and that's how it should be. A British government should always look after its own people first. Young people in our country are desperate. Their jobs are being taken away by ridiculous decisions made by that place over there, and they have absolutely no hope, no chance of securing housing in many places in this country. And this policy will make it much easier and much fairer for young people in our country to secure housing. Some of you in this room and some of the left-wing politicians may see this as controversial. It's not controversial. Our policy document, which you've got in front of you, would have been mainstream policy making 30, 40, 50 years ago. We've gone back in time in this country. We are letting our young people down. Young people in Ashfield, there are over 6,000 people in Ashfield on the council house waiting list, and they've got absolutely no chance of ever getting their foot on the housing ladder, which means that many young people in our areas are living with their parents till they're in their 30s. This is unfair. They can't move out like I did and buy a house at age 22, 23, and they can't start families. So Reform UK is going to reverse this madness. We're going to put British people first and make sure our young people have that aspiration to get their new house, their social house, their council house, whatever you want to call it, and get their feet firmly on the housing ladder.